Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Moisman. Dan, how you doing, mate?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. I actually missed the game. We were recording the day after. I actually missed the game. I was working again. So I got back last night. It was about... Because obviously we got the news that all restaurants and pubs and stuff are now going to be closing at 10 p.m. And stuff like that. So no more of these late finishes. But I got back last night, got the first half in, and my eyes were, the eyelids were getting heavy as we got towards stoppage time and stuff like that. So I was like, right, I'm going to go to bed. Got up this morning, watched the second half. So yeah, mate, I've got this fresh feeling of emotion that's just come off seeing the full-time whistle. I mean, the time is now. I finished watching the second half about 15, 20 minutes ago. That's a bit. I pulled the shirt on, and now I'm recording here with you, mate. So it's very much fresh in the memory.
Absolutely. So yeah, it is obviously the day after. You guys, I'm sure, have all seen the game by now. Couldn't have asked for a better start from Villa. First time we've been unbeaten in the Premier League in 3 games. Won 3 games in a row in the Premier League. Unbeaten in 5, which is mad. I believe the last time we won 3 in a row was 2007. And here we are, a whole 13 years later, finally equaling that tally. And there's a lot happened in the game last night, and there's so many different talking points. I think, firstly, we're going to have to talk about that John Egan red card. But before that, Dan, I think Villa, I don't know about you, but I thought Villa played, I don't want to say better, but I'm going to say better when it was 11v11.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, mate, I think it's good to start off with a win. And look, when Villa win a game, you're never going to find much negativity on this podcast. It wasn't enthralling, was it?
No.
It wasn't. But we struggled against 10-man a lot last season.
Yeah.
This isn't anything new. This is a problem that has been sort of plaguing the Villa for a long time. And look, to be honest with you, mate, I don't think we can be in a position to be too fussy with how we win games. And I've seen a lot of people, say that last season we probably wouldn't have won that game, that we probably end up drawing it or maybe even losing it, with the way that we managed to get that lead slip. So there's still a lot of positives to be found. But yeah, I'm sure you'll want to, in a little bit of depth, go into sort of the attacking side of things a little later on. But yeah, it does make sense to start with that red card.
Yeah, and obviously it came in the 12th minute, and I was just saying to Dan off air, and I tweeted last night. It's not very often that with this sort of rough and tumble where shirts are getting pulled, you're actually seeing cards. And look, we've got to get one thing clear: John Egan clearly obstructs Ollie Watkins and clearly denies a potential goal-scoring opportunity. If Egan doesn't pull him, there's no way he's catching up with Watkins. And Watkins, he rounds Ramsdale and it's potentially 1-0 already. So for me, Dan, the red card is spot on. Again, we're met with a very bitter Yorkshireman in Chris Wilder in his post-match interviews, saying he can't believe it. He's trying not to mug himself off by coming out with these opinions, but mate, you're mugging yourself off because it was a red card. The fact that they aren't given is probably why he's so surprised. Look, I'm all for a bit of rough and tumble. Strikers, centre backs, it's a war of attrition. If you're going to give it, you're going to take it. That's just how it works. But it was probably for about 5 seconds, holding him back with his shirt. And for me, Dan, it was absolutely the right decision. Of course, we've got claret and blue tinted spectacles on, but I don't think there can be many arguments about that.
No, I think it is probably justified, mate. I think players shouldn't have to, for all your dads watching, this is why players go down and this is why players dive. Because the game's changed or the game's gone mad or anything like that. Just because players don't get those decisions often if they don't go down. And credits to the ref for giving that. But, it's an advert for why players do it. Because as you said, mate, it's such a rare decision. It's so often that we don't see players given what they deserve. for stuff like that. Like, if Ali stays on his feet there, which he did, and I think we should credit him for that. Despite the fact he's being pulled back for such a long time, he still keeps trying to get to the ball. It would have been interesting to see if he got there. I think the other way you can look at it is that, and I think Alan Smith pointed this out in the commentary, is that it's uncharacteristically bad defending all round from Sheffield United.
Yeah.
I mean, those sort of long balls are meat and drink for those centre backs. Like, if you chuck them at those 99 times out of 100, they're going to head those back at you. It's so rare that they're beaten by such a long ball. I mean, Mings is the one that plays that ball on his right peg from virtually our own penalty box, and it just sails straight over the top of that back line, which is so un-Sheffield United. But no, it's not the first time this has happened to John Egan. I think since the start of the 18-19 season, he's been sent off more times than any other player in English football's top 4 leagues. So it's nothing new to him. There's a stat for you, mate. I think... credit to Ali for staying on his feet. But no, it's an advert for why players do go down, because this decision is so rare, as you say, mate.
It's funny because I think, ironically, if he would have went down, we wouldn't have got anything. So I guess it's a message, a beacon of hope. Stay on your feet and hope that justice will prevail, which it did. And the referee was very quick to try and, I feel, equalise the game straight after with what was a controversial penalty decision, I believe, which, first of all, I think, obviously, delighted with the Villa win. We're not going to go too in on the players for these things, but it was it was almost comical, that whole phase that led up to the penalty. Villa, we're playing against 10 men and they were clearly still in third gear, and Ezri Konsa steps up, doesn't win the ball. All of a sudden, it's a 3-on-3, and I believe it was Basham or O'Connell that had gone beyond. So he's gone all the way from being at right back, ended up in our box, and again, some comical defending. Matt Targett doesn't even try to tackle him. I think Matt Targett's trying to avoid him, and I think the contacts that we have seen, for those listening, I did air quotes there, is very similar to the incident against Palace during the restart, which Jack didn't get a penalty for, whereby like an inch of a stud has maybe touched the foot and they've gone down. Basham has planted his foot in front of Targett's trailing foot and he has gone down. Now, listening to Sky Sports at the time, they were like, yeah, absolutely a penalty. Chris Wilder believes it's a penalty. I don't see how Matt Targett, who is trying to actually avoid the situation, which is probably worse than committing and bringing him down, can be penalised like that. Like, yeah, I get this contact, but I think these kind of things, they need to be, I don't know, I think there needs to be a bit more transparency. I think with the rules, you need to look at intent, because he clearly didn't intend on bringing Basham down. I think as well, first of all, if he doesn't touch him, Emi collects the ball because Basham takes a heavy touch. But it was just kind of frustrating. And again, I'm not going to go in too hard, but I think purely on the basis that Targett was, running away, I think it's just a ludicrous decision, Dan.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where, this is so open to interpretation. I think it's one of those where, if I'm being objective and sort of looking at this in a sort of referee's light, I think Matt Targett is continually caught out in those situations, sort of when a ball is behind him, and he puts himself in a position for the referees to make a decision. And I think, as you said, Matt, I think you've spoken for a lot of Villa fans on how you saw the penalty, but it's poor defending. It's a nice pass, but if you're looking at it from a Villa perspective, it's not great. We've seen Targett caught out on the wings by those kind of passes. He's just too slow on the turn sometimes. But forgetting all that, putting all that aside, mate, what a save, Emi. Wow, way to endear yourself to the Villa faithful. That's the first time in Villa's Premier League history that a goalkeeper has saved a penalty on his debut. And what a save it is. I'm sure we've all seen that still image of Emi diving down to meet the ball. Yeah, it's unbelievable, mate. It's unbelievable. Like, when you watch it live, it's a great save. But when you watch it when you see it slow down and even in those still frames, just the athleticism on it is crazy. And yeah, like, it just highlights what a goalkeeper we have, to go out and do that, way to endear yourself to the Villa fans, as I said, man. Yeah, amazing. The only goalkeeper in the Premier League with 100% save success rate is our own Emi Martinez. And as debuts go, man, I mean, he said himself in the post-match interview that it felt like a hat-trick on his debut. And I imagine it did, man. We all love him. The players seem to love him. And what a great start for him personally, mate.
Absolutely. I don't want to see like I'm disrespecting Reina or Heaton or anyone, but he looks so assured, and I think the back four, they take so much confidence from that. The fact that Target has made a mistake, albeit whether he meant to or not, and Emi's there, and we can rely on him to save that penalty, as you say, full stretch, amazing. And there's just so much to love about him. He's huge. He commands his box so well. It helps that he speaks excellent English as well. I listened to his post-match interviews, and he's got that kind of London twang like Hector Bellerin does, which is great. I love Emi. He's instantly immortalised himself at Aston Villa, and I think things can only get better. As you say, 100% save success rate. We're the only team not to concede in this weekend's fixtures, Dan, which, when you look at it, I believe 42 goals were scored this weekend, which is pretty mental. So yeah, little old Villa keeping a clean sheet and beating Sheffield United. Overall, really good. I think there's not much else that we can sort of comment on in the game. I think Villa need to, as we kind of touched on, improve on situations where we have an extra man, because we saw it last season. I think sometimes in the attacking phase, we're just a bit slow. Maybe we make the wrong decision, make a pass backwards, which kind of allows Sheffield United to reconvene. And that there was a worry at halftime as well that Ezri Konsa had injured his hamstring. He was hobbling about, but that didn't stop him from scoring, Dan. What a header as well. I mean, everyone likes to see a bullet header at the near post, all this kind of stuff. But it was a really well-worked routine whereby Mings heads the ball back over to Konsa, and as Ramsdale is coming across, Konsa, there's not a lot of power on it, but he puts it back where Ramsdale's come from, which he's never going to save. And I think there was just, a collective sigh of relief. Everyone was just so amazed at the fact that Villa, we've got our goal, we're taking the lead, because as you touched on earlier, Dan, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, that doesn't happen. We struggle. It's going to be a 0-0, potentially a 1-0 loss. But man, Ezri just oozed class yesterday, man. Ezri and Ty, what a partnership.
Yeah, they both impressed for sure, man. Good day for Ty, all round. Great to see him pen that new deal. So, just thanks and congrats for another few years at Aston Villa, Ty. But onto Ezri, he really came out in lockdown as potentially, I'm going to say, in lockdown, I'm not saying overall or anything like that before people jump on me, but Ezri was the superior defender.
Yeah.
I thought Ezri was leading that partnership. Tyrone still had that little mistake in him from time to time, but Ezri was just bang on the money every time. And what a player. He's sort of going under the radar a little bit, but what a player he's becoming, and it's showing that he's got some nous on the attacking end as well, which is really good. That's 2 goals in his last 4 games, which is just as many as he managed in his last 137 for Villa and for Brentford. So congrats to Ezri. It's interesting that, because Connor's deliveries I thought were really good throughout. There's been a lot of stick given to Conor Hourihane, which I feel is a little unjustified. I feel like he's judged, in comparison to Jack and John, which is a little bit harsh because we know how great they are. And yeah, he's on that level, but Conor is far from being the main problem with this squad. For a large percentage of the game, the only time we looked like scoring was from Conor's dead balls, but he comes up and he's literally walking around the back of the goal, when Matt Target swings that ball in. It's a good flick on by Mings. And Ezri just times that jump so well to get up earlier than Ender Stevens. He just managed to get enough on it. And when there's so little pace on the ball, it's so hard to direct those headers and steer them past the goalkeeper like Ramsdale. So yeah, Ezri does really well, and it's that same knee slide going off into the left-hand corner of the Holte end as you're looking at the pitch that we saw against Watford, and a nice bit of symmetry there as well. Look, I think there were like some similar familiar problems with Villa last season. I think whilst we moved the ball better from the midfield third into the final third, I think the same stagnant problems were there in the final third that were there last season. We still lack that fluidity. We still lack a bit of creativity. 7 of our last 9 Premier League goals have come from set pieces, which paints a perfect pitch, mate. That tells you all you need to know. We struggle in that final third to create. Hopefully, when we've got players like Bertrand playing, and if we sign the likes of Rashika or whoever, I think there still is a need for a midfielder just to add some dynamism to that midfield, because going forward, it's not creative enough. There's not enough energy, and I think we still did struggle in that final third, just as we did last season. But one player who I felt did add a lot going forward and put in some nice balls at times, and I think on his debut deserves to be spoken about, was Matty Cash, mate. I think as a two-way fullback, which is so necessary in today's game, he really impressed me.
Yeah, I think I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Cash. Ashley Preece of the Birmingham Mail tweeted he could hear Mings getting on Cash, being like, "Look, you need to talk to Trez," because I think most of Villa's attacking output did come from that left-hand side between Targett and Grealish, which is always going to happen when you've got a player like Jack Grealish on the pitch. But Cash put in some beautiful balls, mate. He's so quick, and often as well, because we attacked so much on that left-hand side, whenever it came across to Cash, he had like 40, 50 yards of space that he could run into, which I think Villa didn't really capitalise enough on. But no, mate, I think it was a dream debut for all 3 debutants in the Premier League. Obviously, Watkins, we saw a bit of him against Burton Albion, runs the channels really well, holds the ball up nicely, runs at players, and it's only a matter of time before he gets his first Premier League goal. As we touched on, Martinez, Cash, so much more to come from him. He's got a fantastic delivery. Often finds himself in like a kind of Trent position, in like where he kind of floats into the midfield when we're in the attacking phase, and he's almost like a fourth option, kind of like right centre of the midfield, which is interesting. I do kind of want to see him make these overlapping runs around Trez. As I say, a bit of communication between them two. It's going to come with time. So again, not going to be too critical on that. But looking at the stats on this game, Dan, 72% possession for Villa, obviously. That the 10 men plays into that. 18 shots, 2 on target, which makes for dire reading, really. So it's a good job we managed to score the one. 10 corners, fairly even in terms of the fouls. It's always going to be a bit of a feisty game against Sheffield United, but overall, just really happy with the 3 points. It puts us in a really good position. I believe if we look at the Premier League table, now we've only played 1 game, but we're sat in 9th. So if a second wave happens, let's null and void now. We're safe. We're all good. That's going to take shape over time. But you've got to look at Leicester and Everton sitting in top 2, and you've got Man United in 15th after that. After a very disappointing start from them losing to Palace, but things are looking good. I think. Against Bristol, it's going to be a bit of a quick turnaround. I don't think we're going to see a very strong side, but it should be good enough to hopefully get the job done. I think again, Dino wants to win these cup competitions. I think if you're looking at the 5-year plan of Tony Gia, obviously it's all about making them European spots. Hopefully getting into the Europa League or whatever. I think while we're there, if we can have a good cup run, as we did last season. For a manager like Dean Smith, and again, no disrespect meant at all. I love Dean. I want Dean to be the manager forever, as long as Villa keep winning and pushing on. But for Dean, I think it would really, it would sort of cement his legacy at Villa. And I know this is very early to talk about because he's been manager for 2 months, but he's got us promoted. He's kept us up. If Dean Smith can win a cup competition, he can leave Aston Villa whenever he does a happy man. He has won a trophy with the team he supports. So I really do hope that there is a competitive side that's put out against Bristol, Dan.
Yeah, I think just sort of if we just strip it back to the fundamentals, mate, I think that we need to just get into a winning habit. I
Yeah,
mean, we've spoken to we've seen managers like Scott Parker, who's so worried about Fulham and where one loss becomes two, and two becomes three, and three becomes four, and stuff like that. And so, it's so important, and that works both ways. If you can, we've got an opportunity now against Bristol City and then against Fulham next Monday to win two games, both away from home, and they're both very winnable. I think the side will be weakened. Certainly, I think we'll see Bertrand Traore
yeah.
on Thursday. I'm really excited for him, and a really good way for him to ease himself back into to playing football behind closed doors. Because in France they have some fans back in stadiums and stuff like that. I don't know if many people have been watching Liga and stuff like that, but I've caught a few games. And you sort of look at the crowd and you're like, what have they got, some moving animations? And you're like, oh shit, they're people. I forgot
Wow.
that happened.
Yeah, it feels so weird.
It does. It does. So back behind closed doors for him, it's a good chance for him to ease himself into the team against some lesser opposition. And then again on Monday, I think it's an important game, and when we're playing catch up with this game in hand, I think it's important that we keep a good account of ourselves and keep ourselves in a respectable position on the table, because, as you said, the last thing you want to be doing is knocking around the relegation zones, putting pressure on yourself so early to win games, to put yourself higher at the table. So if we can maintain this, keep this run going. But yeah, just talking about the Bristol City game in particular, mate. It's one of those where we win this, it's another favourable tie. I think we have Stoke or Gillingham. If we win, and there's another winnable game, and suddenly, mate, you start to put yourself in a position where week after week you could be winning games, and whether that be in the cup or the league, it's never bad for momentum, mate. And especially with so many new players coming into the team, confidence is really important, and establishing that winning feeling in the squad, and it brings everyone together. There's just no downside to it, mate. And so whether it's cup, league, whatever it is, we've got some games coming up that we can win, and I'm sure Dean and the rest of the team sees it that way.
Yeah, I think as well, you just got to look at the kind of players who are featuring. Obviously, you've got your Lansburys, El Ghazis, a few people who are going to find themselves on the fringes. Keep them happy, play them in the cups as and where suitable. Obviously, they're playing games. If they're winning, they're going to be happy. Obviously, ultimately, they're going to want to play Premier League games. But it's about trying to balance this squad. And we've said so many times, but I think, to be honest, I think the people who are out of the team, I don't want to say they're complacent or anything like that, but I think there's a nice balance in the squad. Everyone's happy. They want what's best for the team. You've just got to look at, how often Henry Lansbury gasses up Grealish. For a man who barely kicks a ball, is very active on Instagram. So you just got to kind of look at that. And again, I'm looking forward to potentially seeing Jacob Ramsey. Obviously, he had his loan at Doncaster. He's played against Burton, so League One level there, playing against Bristol. We'll see what he's like against the Championship side. It's always a good indication. Obviously, as well, Indiana Vassilev has gone out on loan to Burton as well. So, just wanted to mention that on the pod. Good for him. Wish him all the best. For someone like him who featured quite a bit last season, it's going to be really beneficial playing competitive games regularly, hopefully. Help him get that eye for goal. So yeah, happy for Indy. Hope we see Jacob Ramsey play. What are you hoping to see from this game, Dan? Obviously, I've kind of touched on Ramsey there. Bertrand as well, as you mentioned. I think it's going to be exciting to see him. Again, another good chance for him to kind of find his feet, because obviously Bristol City aren't going to be Premier League level, but it's certainly going to be tough for him. We all know what the Championship's like. He's probably going to get kicked to pieces. So I guess it's actually a decent game for him to potentially get used to English football again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that's
Yeah.
that's a really important that's a really important way to look at it. I think it's just about, I think for me, you want to see players who are those fringe players that you spoke about impress, because with these new players coming in, there is a golfing quality and between sort of, especially in the wingers. If we sign Rashika and Traore, that they are a calibre above Trezeguet and El Ghazi. what you don't want to see is where players just assume a starting role every week and they become lazy and well, not lazy. That's not the right word, but you want. Yeah, you want competition in the squad, don't you? You want two players, and so if you are Anwar or Ghazi and you're looking at Traore ahead of you, you're looking at potentially another winger ahead of you. Trez is starting ahead of you. You want to go out against Bristol City and show that doesn't mean to be the case. Show that Villa, you don't need to go and spend 25 million pound on a new winger. I'm the man. I can still do it. I don't think he had a particularly great game against Burton, and so that will weigh heavy. And so if we do see players like Anwar and Courtney and stuff like that, players who, seem to be very much resigned to the bench this season, make a name for yourself. Go out there, show that, you can compete there and that you are ready to be playing on the Saturdays and not the Thursdays. I think it's a big game for not just for the new players like Bertrand and stuff like that, but for the guys that have been here for quite some time now, that are sort of being ushered towards the exit door potentially. Go and make a name for yourself. Go and show that you belong in this squad and that you can still do it and you can still win games for the Villa.
Absolutely. I think it's a big one for the goalkeepers as well. Obviously, there's such stiff competition there. If we're still in the cup competitions when Heaton's fit, he's going to want to look to get games as and when he can to push Martinez. It's just really important all round. Looking forward to the game, Dan. Before we go, can we get a score prediction? Put you on the spot again.
I think Villa are going to win, mate. I think we'll get another clean sheet. I think we're going to win 2-0. Seeing only good things coming from it, man. And also, just before we touch, Kinsella, friend of the pod, Lewis, thanks. Wishing you all the best with everything you're going through at the moment. It must be tough. I saw Jack donated $2,000, which was absolutely immense. And so I don't know if we can link that in the description, mate, to that.
Absolutely.
For sure. He's done a lot for us. And shout out to Kinsman. I hope that all goes well for you. And we'll be looking out for you back on the pitch soon.
Absolutely, yeah. And big news in Aldershot news as well. Ross McCormack signed for them. I'm sure everyone's seen that now. Yeah. But I think Kins is excited about that. He's a great guy, Kins. Just kind of reciprocating what Dan said. He very great. Grateful for him coming on the podcast, talking to him. He's a great guy. And it's a bit sad, really, seeing that he's had to do something like this to help pay for an injury. It's the other side of football. It's what happens. But wishing Kins all the best. When we were speaking to him, I think he had to wait like 3 months, obviously because of COVID and stuff, to get his injections in his knee. Hopefully Kins gets better. Jack, being an absolute gentleman as always, donating to help his good friend. We'll leave the description, the link to that in the description for you guys if you can spare a few quids just to help Kins out, help Aldershot out. Kins is a great guy. That's a good note to end the podcast on, Dan. I'm glad you remembered that, actually, because I saw that before I went to bed last night. And I know Kins is just a great guy. I keep saying it, but he is genuinely one of the nicest guys in football. I don't have a bad word to say about the guy. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do hit the like button. And I can't believe, Dan, we're here on 2,700 subscribers. Again, I'm just losing track each day. It's genuinely mad, all the support you guys have been giving us. We really appreciate it. Which, again, we're trying to get these out regularly, with work and with uni starting again for the both of us. If you guys could just be a bit patient with us, sometimes we're maybe a day or two late. We chose to do today just because we didn't want to have to rush after last night as well. Dan was at work, didn't get to see the game. And it's unfair for us to hop on and just have an opinion on something that we've not been able to analyse, dissect. It would be quite dishonest of us to just sit here and get it out straight away purely so as we could, rake the views in or whatever. We like to take our time with these things. So it's the best product for you guys, really. And again, we're coming to 3,000 subscribers nearly, which is mental. We're 300 off. So if you guys could subscribe, that would mean the absolute world. As I say, it's been over a month since we just hit 2,000. So to get almost 1,000 in a month, that would be mental. And comment your thoughts below on the game. Who impressed you most? Who are you looking forward to seeing play against Bristol City? We really want to know. If you enjoyed this content, subscribe for more and up the Villa.
It's the main man, a hero. He's the main leader of the gang. Chester. 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 He's the main leader of the gang now. Chester.